Thank you for joining us this evening. We are very excited to talk to our 8th grade parents, and you guys are in your last year at Dorothingham with these students, and we want to make it the best year for your kiddos. So with us, Crystal Moore, Miss Seymour is the kids caller, 8th grade assistant principal, Mr. Bob Tuttle, 8th grade counselor, both of them have been with the kids for the last couple of years, and they've gotten to know them really well. And again, my name is Ellen Smith, and I'm the proud principal of Dorothingham Middle School. Next slide, Crystal. We are going to talk through a few things this evening. We're going to talk a little bit about the unique characteristics of your 13, 14-year-old. Mr. Tuttle's going to talk about long-term planning and kind of the upcoming things to be thinking of, and some academics and habits of mind we want kids working on. We're going to talk briefly about social emotional learning and what that looks like at Dorothingham Middle School, and then talking a little bit about our discipline process and how we're supporting kids with their behavior choices, and finally how to get in touch with us, and take some time for questions and answers at the end. So glad to have you join us. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to start just by talking about my favorite thing selfishly, and that is what we are trying to do here at Dorothingham Middle School that's unique to us as a school. So at Dorothingham, we do seek to create an environment in which every child feels like they belong and are gaining the skills that they need in order to become whatever they would like to become. I really want kids to look back at some point in their future, maybe 10, maybe 15 years, and look back on their middle school years and go, yes, those were the best years that I had in Arlington Public Schools. Mr. Tuttle smiles because that's an unusual thing. And perhaps not everyone looks back on their middle school years as the best years of their life. They certainly can be rocky, right? There are definite challenges that our youngsters and our middle school students face. But what we want them to do is really develop some resilience, develop the skills and the strategies in order to be successful as they move into the future. So rocky times, those ups and downs of middle school years are great learning experiences, and that's the way we need to look at them. Mr. Tuttle, question?
Can I add something to that? I don't think it's a rocky time because of the school. I think it's a rocky time because of the amount of developmental growth that the kids go through. They go from little kids to, like, not little adults, but like high school kids, which is a very different thing, and that's a big change, and that means a lot of changes in social and all of that. I think that's why it's tough.
It is, it's true. And our middle school students are trying on lots of, especially 8th graders, trying on, you don't mind muting, that would be awesome. They are trying on lots of different personality traits. They're trying on different interactions with adults and with young people, all of which is, it's an important part of their development. So the real question for me to address to you is, how do we go about this? How do we go about creating this environment where kids feel like they belong and are getting the skills they need to become? First of all, it's vital to me that they develop a connection with an adult here at school who is their go-to person. And either of these two people on your screen, Mr. Tuttle or Miss Seymour, are great go-to people for kids at any time. But I also want them to really connect with one of their teachers, whether it's their TA teacher, ideally, or another content area teacher, so that they really feel a part and connected to our community. That's especially true for 8th graders, I think, where they begin to kind of separate and see themselves as independent beings. I want to support that, but I want them to remember that there are people here who can help them at any point. The TA teacher, as it has been for the last couple of years, is your youngster's first point of contact. It's your first point of contact if you have questions, if you have concerns, or you just need a little piece of information. Please don't hesitate to reach out to the TA teacher, and then they can get back. They can find out whatever it is and get back to you with any sort of response. Secondly, it's important for me that we continue as a DHMS staff to really work on the developmental kind of the things that developmentally our youngsters need. So for me, that is executive functioning skills, really continuing to practice being organized, maintaining an agenda, having a binder, doing homework, even if there's no homework written down in their agenda, but going through their binder and taking a look at the work that has been assigned so that that content is coming back and sticking in their head. It's also a time for them to really practice those social skills that we will expect them to exhibit all from now on, really, as young adults. So Ms. Seymour will talk a lot about, oh no, sorry, looks like there might be a problem with the link. Can you check that in the chat, Mr. Tuttle or Ms. Seymour? It is important for kids to work on how they get along and be aware of how they get along with other people, how they interact with each other respectfully and positively. So we'll continue to focus on that. And then the third thing for me, I really want kids to feel inspired at school. And I want all kids to know and be inspired by the history that was made at Dorothy Ham Middle School in 1959, which, as you know, when history was made, when 4 African-American 7th graders started school here on February 2nd, beginning the integration for the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is an important year for us in particular, so I'm delighted that your 8th graders are here to celebrate the 65th anniversary of the desegregation of the building. So glad to have them here with us to help with that. This is, believe it or not, our 5th year as a middle school. And so we continue to kind of revise and update our practices and our procedures. You'll hear Ms. Seymour talk about our RISE expectations that have evolved over the last 3 years to support students with making good choices, both interpersonally, but then also kind of when they're moving through our building. I do want to be very clear, and this is especially hard for our 8th graders, although they've been pretty good this year. It is my belief that our cell phones are a huge distraction to kids in middle school. If they're buzzing in their back pocket, they feel them, they're distracted, they're not focused on the lesson and the content that I want them to be focused on. So I have continued the policy this year of cell phones need to be off and away all day. I would prefer cell phones to be in lockers, but I know that that is a difficult ask for a lot of our middle school students. And so if they have them on them and I don't know, then they're fine, right? I don't want to see those cell phones during the day. I expect not to see them get pulled out at any point, even to check the time. We have a few that use theirs for medical reasons. That's not a problem. But there is a phone in every single classroom. So kids are able to call you at any time. And our main office is also very happy to take any phone calls from parents. That if you need a message delivered to a youngster, all you need to do is call the main office and they're happy to communicate that to your youngster. So don't hesitate. Know that there are ways that we can communicate. They do not need their cell phone. Their iPad functions really brilliantly for them during the course of the day. And that policy, I just want to encourage you to help us help the kids manage this cell phone. I have heard that the flip phone is making a comeback, and I'm going to strongly encourage all of those parents that have not yet purchased cell phones for their youngsters to get flip phones because they're not as powerful as the phones that we've given the kids. I guess lastly, I would say safety continues to be a priority for us, making sure that your youngster feels safe and that everyone is safe in the building. So you'll hear a little bit of that discussion this evening. But at any time, if you're hearing something from your youngster that makes you uncomfortable or makes you worried, or they're feeling uncomfortable, please don't hesitate to send them to either Mr. Tuttle or to Ms. Seymour, or reach out to us. We're happy to support with making sure that everybody feels safe and ready and valued, really, and supported during their middle school years, so that they can look back on middle school and go, those were great years. I loved my middle school experience. At this time, thank you, Mr. Tuttle, for the smile. At this time, I'm going to turn this presentation over to Ms. Seymour and to Mr. Tuttle, and then I will be monitoring the chat. Don't hesitate to put any questions in there. But thank you so much for your time and attention. And I'll say one last time that we are being recorded. So if you are uncomfortable with that, we will be posting this on the website. Thanks, guys. Crystal, it's all yours.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad that you guys have come out to join us tonight and hear a little bit of what we're saying. Just sharing, welcome to 8th grade. Welcome to Dorothy Ham. For those of you who may be new this year, I just want to say I'm Crystal Moore, the 8th grade assistant principal. We have Bob Tuttle, our awesome counselor, and of course, Miss E. Smith just spoke. And I just want to share with you that this is our team this year. In addition to Ellen, myself, Bob, we have Janae, who is our doc of counseling, our director of counseling. We have our great team leads for the 8th grade, Miss Paris. She is, let me see if I get these right. Bob, help me out. The Falcons team. Mr. Marzalek, he has the Ducks, the Mighty Ducks this year. And then we have Miss Youngston. She is the captain of the Ravens team. These three leaders are so great at making sure that the teams function. We're really excited. I think this is our second year of truly implementing teams here at Dorothy Ham, and we're doing our best to continue to develop that with our students, ensuring that they have those team-spirited connections within their team, even if they are in math, they cross team a little bit, but we try to ensure that our students are connected in this way. Another way that we have teams, and okay, there we go. Another way that we have teams are through our specialist teams. These individuals are also often seen in the 8th grade hallway, supporting. We've got Mr. Gilday, our ITC, Miss Boyd, she's in charge of advanced academics, Miss Donnelly with reading, Miss Donaldson, Miss Shaw, Miss Shanker, and Mr. Griffin. And you will often see them on the 8th grade hallway as well, supporting your students. Maybe you've heard about them. Some of your students are interacting with them daily. They are an amazing team of specialists that we have, and we're very fortunate to have them here at Dorothy Ham. Just to give you kind of an idea of what we have going on in 8th grade, we currently have about 314 students that roam the halls and join us for lunch and enjoy each other outside. We've got about 21 teachers supporting students. That is your 3 team of content teachers, our special education teachers, our interlude teachers, as well as our amazing autism program. And then we have an amazing student support team, and that includes our social worker, in our counseling department, our counseling as related services. All of these people work really hard together to support our 314 8th graders. And so far, I think we're going strong. So you've got an 8th grader this year, and I bet you're already seeing there's been some differences between 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. In 8th grade, you've got full-fledged teenagers. They're really getting comfortable with themselves, and we see this in the hallways. I think initially we see this when they come back at the beginning of this school year. As 6th graders, they come in and they're a little apprehensive. 7th graders, they're a little bit reluctant. 8th graders, they truly come in like, yes, we made it, and also where are our friends? And that is the second point, evolving friendships. If you haven't been hearing conversations about what's going on socially with your 8th grader, it will soon come, because friendships are huge in this part of their journey here in middle school. And it happens at different paces. They really still are focused on fitting in. They're growing some independence, but that's soon to come towards the end of the year, I would say, for many. But they really want to fit in still. They really want to still find a group, find their place. They have best friends at this time. It's great seeing them in the hallway. And what I love about this year, and Mr. Tuttle can add to this if you want, when they have groups, sometimes you get to see them really pull in new friends who join our school. And so that's great to see as well. Sometimes there's drama. We're not going to say there's no drama in middle school and not in 8th grade, but 8th grade is a great time for them to develop coping mechanisms for how to adjust to that drama. So we do that a little bit more in 8th grade as well. And unfortunately, Mr. Tuttle, I can't see you, so just jump right in if you have something to say.
Oh, I'll jump right in. Like,
Okay.
This is a great class. And the kids, there's a different feel for every class, and this is a really good class. Um, well, I would say one of the best that I've had, certainly, over a very long time period. The kids are really nice and they are really welcoming to new kids coming in, which is great to see. And I would say you're definitely right. There is always a little drama, but again, that's part of the age and that's part of the kids, the natural shift in friendships that we typically see in middle school. And I will say that in this class, it has happened later than I've historically seen. So that's a little bit of a difference.
Готовь вот это по-новому линк.
If you're just joining, can you make sure you're on mute so that not everybody can hear you? Thanks.
I
All
would
right, you can go
add,
ahead.
moving into longing for independence, many of you are starting to see that your eighth graders are asking you for more responsibility. Like no other year, I've had a lot more eighth graders making sure that they have their art bus card so that they can use the art bus in their own time. I'm starting to see more friendships where they're making plans after school or even plans to study during the school day. What are they going to do in certain classes? There's a lot more grasping of independence going on here in eighth grade. And sometimes when I talk to parents, there's that you're still in that phase of like, how much do we let go? Oh, they've messed up or they've done something that I just had hoped they had not. But this what we tell parents is this is truly an opportunity for them to mess up. Middle school is a time for them to try to take risks. We encourage those risks because it's safe enough for us to now say, maybe you know what, you made a mistake or you didn't realize the impact of your actions. This is the time to reflect on that. This is the time to really start to see your actions and how they impact maybe others or how they may impact other choices that you have. But we want to continue to encourage you. Please don't hesitate to continue those conversations with them. Ask them how their day was, even when they may seem like they don't want to talk about it. Still engage with them. In the hallway, there may be students that I'm like, hey, and one day they don't want to say anything. The very next day, they may have a lot to say. So just if we can continue to be consistent and just being present, it allows them to choose which days they want to talk to us sometimes, but be there as much as you can. And so we appreciate your partnership with that. Mr. Tuttle and I are shoulder to shoulder, day in, day out in the cafeteria, in the hallways, and everywhere else in the building. And we, I think, are covering both ends of just checking in with them, making sure that they feel seen, that their voices are heard, and that they feel understood as best as possible. All right, Mr. Tuttle, you're on.
Can we just take a second
Yeah.
to welcome those people who've joined us. If you've just joined us, my apologies for sending the wrong link or a broken link. I have just resent it via Parent Square, so we've gotten a lot of you who've joined us. Again, my name is Ellen Smith, principal of Dorothyham. Crystal Moore, Miss Seymour, as the kids call her, is the 8th grade AP. And then Mr. Tuttle is the 8th grade counselor. And both of these guys have been with your youngsters for the last couple of years and are very much looking forward to wrapping this year up. So I apologize for sending the wrong link. The beginning part of this meeting is recorded. It's all recorded, so feel free to go back and check the first few minutes. Otherwise, we're so glad to have you join us. Thank you. And Bob, tag.
Okay, I'm not looking forward to wrapping it up yet. We got 3 more quarters, and I would like to keep them for a while longer. So the academic planning this year is going to look a lot like it has in the past. It will be a little different as well because your kids are not staying with us for the following school year. They're going off to bigger and better things. And so there will be some differences, but I'm going to be doing the academic planning sessions with your kids. And I'm going to be talking about graduation requirements and so forth, but we're also going to have some high school counselors in to talk to the kids about life in high school. And just as kind of a side note, I'm sure many people are probably, getting a little nervous about, oh my gosh, high school is coming. if you remember back to coming in sixth grade, I'm sure many of you had the same feelings then. It is a transition, and hopefully you see that transition as having been a good transition. The same thing happens in high school. The kids are quickly outgrowing middle school, and they need to go to high school because they need that greater amount of freedom and responsibility to continue to grow and become adults. So it is a good thing, but don't be too nervous about it. It goes well. The actual academic planning session that you guys will have will actually be with the high school, because you're going to be talking about just high school. You're not going to be planning for school with us next year, and they will be around the same times that we do it. They will be probably late January. There will also be a virtual parent high school night, which is going to be coming up. I'm going to guess they're going to start in December. I've looked even today, and they have not posted the dates yet. But you're going to want to keep your eyes out for that. And when I have it, I will certainly post it on my Canvas, and I'm sure it'll get posted school wide so that parents can see it as well. But those are good to see, because they'll talk about the options for high school, because there are some options for high school. There'll be one for Yorktown. There'll be one for Washington and Liberty. There'll be one for Arlington Tech. And those are good to see, because it'll give you a little bit more information about those schools. I will say also about those high schools, Arlington Tech, the kids are going to get to go visit Arlington Tech on December 5th, 7th, and 8th. So that's going to be coming up. So all of our kids are going to go. They're going to actually go to Arlington Tech and see kind of what Arlington Tech is firsthand. And I know a lot of kids are going to be excited for that. And then also, Yorktown and W&L are going to come to us to talk about that. So I think that is all. I think I got through everything. Yeah, I did. But if you have any questions, it's kind of a busy time right now, so be easy on me with email, or be patient at least. I will get back to you. Feel free to email me if you have any questions, though.
I'll just reiterate to stay tuned, because the high schools will be communicating with you about high school information and where to go for that information. A lot of it will be updated on our website, so just stay tuned.
Yes, and there is also one that is not geared towards one. It's more about options for high school, and that will be a good thing to go to as well. And I don't have dates yet for when applications for transfers and such are due. So stay tuned on that. We will be getting that information out when we get it. All right, Ms. Seymour.
So I'll just bounce back into end of the year goals. These goals that we're looking at here are end of the year goals, particularly for parents with their students, for us as educators with your students, for us with students, and for parents with their children. You want to hope that by the end of their 8th grade year, they have developed some academic habits that make them independent learners that are kind of accountable for their learning. They're using their agenda. I know we all have agendas. I can say that kids may or may not be using them. It may depend on the classes. Please take advantage of those agendas. If you didn't know, all of your students have agendas. So please take advantage of that agenda. You can write notes in the agenda to communicate with parents. With teachers, you can ask students to mark things in the calendar section, and it just allows them to start to do those things as well, as they're going to need to utilize a planning strategy when they move into high school. The one binder organization we do utilize that here. Because again, we have technology as they will have in high school. And so trying to minimize things into a binder format, organizing that binder, cleaning out things from the binder, saving the things that need to be saved and tossing those that don't. Utilizing Canvas, we have several platforms that students are familiar with, just getting into the habit of checking Canvas daily for the students. And I know parents have access. We want to create that habit where they are utilizing those things. Student View, I talked to a student the other day saying, what are your grades? And the student's like, I'm not really quite sure. Hey, get in there, check, see what your grades are now. What are your goals? What do you want your grades to be at the end of this quarter? What are you working towards? Allowing for that accountability to truly become them by the end of 8th grade. The mindset, habits of the mind, being persistent, managing that impulsivity. I know I see this a lot at this part of the year, and that's very, very normal. Responding to wonderment and awe, really being fascinated by things and tapping into their own curiosity about what they're worried about. It's okay to have worries. It's okay to be nervous about things. And it's okay to understand that that's very, very normal. And so just these are things that we are shifting into as we move throughout the year and getting into the end of the year for the development aspect. Mr. Tuttle, did you have anything here? You're good? All right. Positive behaviors. So our rise expectations have remained, and they are the same: rise, respect, integrity, self-awareness, and engagement. When we spoke with 8th graders at the beginning of this school year, we talked about having a solid understanding of respect, having a pretty good understanding of integrity, and that this year as 8th graders, the focus being self-awareness and engagement. And those areas are really big trees that a lot of elements are under. In terms of self-awareness, what can you handle? What can you not handle? Understanding your own limits, whether that be academically, whether that be with friends, what feels like pressure, what feels like it's really motivating for you, recognizing those things about yourself. And engagement. With engagement, I'm really honing in on engaging with your teachers, engaging with your own personal goals, engaging with peers. We are a screen world now with our students in this age group. However, at lunch, we do have no phone policy at lunch. And I think we're better for it, quite honestly. I think if I have to say that I have to ask kids to turn their phones off at lunch, you'd be surprised. I would say maybe 5 times since the beginning of the school year have I asked kids to put their phones away. They are truly talking to each other. They're socializing. They're getting up. They're arm wrestling with Mr. Tuttle. They are really engaging. And I think that's really important. So we will continue to focus on that self-awareness and that engagement as we continue throughout this school year. Student involvement, just want to touch on this and just say kudos to you parents as you are encouraging your students to get involved, and kudos to our students for finding ways to get involved in things that really speak to them. So we have had some awesome sports activities going on. The soccer games just wrapped up. Those were awesome, as well as swimming is I think we are already in swimming. Basketball, all of those sports are coming up that haven't already. Tennis, I think, just wrapped up as well. Clubs, there's tons of clubs that we have. What I love about our clubs is that we have teachers who are really interested in things, and then they share those with the students. I know there's been a knitting club, a cooking club, Model UN. There are a lot of great clubs here at Dorothy-Ham, and they're posted in the hallway. So if your kids haven't tapped into those, we do have a late bus that will pick kids up and take them home at 4:20. So take advantage of that. I encourage that. If you're looking for your kid to find something to do after school, these are some great opportunities. And then your everyday classes and your electives. Your everyday classes, we've got a yearbook class that's pretty awesome, and they've gotten started already. I see them in the hallways taking pictures, as well as our broadcast team. So these are a lot of ways that your students are very busy in school, getting involved in more than just their content courses. Yes, Mr. Tuttle.
Can I add something about the clubs and the sports? I think it's actually a great way for kids to, like I mentioned earlier, I'm seeing like the shift in friendships much later than we normally do. I'm not sure why or if that has something to do with the pandemic, but regardless, the clubs and the sports, kids engaging in new things is an excellent way for them to meet new kids, not just in class. And I'm also going to say that the sports that we don't have at Dorothy Ham, kids are allowed to participate in the high school. And that is actually a good way. I wouldn't push a kid into a sport just to get them engaged in the high school, but it is actually a good way to get them connected with the high school before they even get there. So I just wanted to mention that.
And I also forgot to mention that in terms of academics, we have homework clubs. So if your child is not getting some assignments done or really having a hard time, our 8th grade teams provide offerings in English and language arts, math, science. I know Miss Kennedy, she provides pizza when her students stay after. And I think that's open to the whole team and maybe even to other teams as well. So really look into talking to your teachers to find out who's got an after school homework opportunity to help support the studies that they have going on. So this slide, do you want to talk about SEL, Bob? Or you want me to jump in? Oh, you're on mute.
Go ahead and I'll jump in.
All right, so we are focusing in our classes in the 5 competencies of social emotional learning. And hopefully by now, this is not the first time you're hearing it. I would say that it has been a brand new initiative that's come across over the last few years. And I think our teachers and our classes have done an excellent job of really kind of blending in SEL in instruction. Self-awareness, relationship skills, self-management, social awareness, and responsible decision making. And as you see here, a lot of these really line up with the RISE expectations, and that's not on accident. We are glad to see that they are blended because these are the areas in middle school that we want students to truly tap in. Your teacher advisory, the TA first thing in the morning, they do activities around SEL practice as well as in Phoenix time. There are some SEL lessons there. So if you're looking for something else to chat with your student, hey, talk to me a little bit about what's going on with your SEL learning. What are you doing in maybe your TA or your Phoenix time that's tapping into these 5 competencies? It would spark up some great conversation.
Did a great job.
All right, I'm going to give this one to you, Bob.
Oh, counseling support. I am around. I am available to kids pretty much all day, through individual, group, and I am available to provide resources and referrals, for those that need it. I would say that the majority of my time so far has been individual because I've had a lot of kids. But it's a lot of it is just normal support, trying to navigate the social world, which is changing in front of their eyes. But they are doing well with it. So, but I am there as a resource for them.
And a true resource he is. Mr. Tuttle truly is. He's like an octopus with like 5,000 times the amount of arms. His outreach is so great. He really is seeing as many students as need to see him. And I don't know what you think, Mr. Tuttle. Maybe less groups this year. I think that our 8th graders really have developed a great relationship with Mr. Tuttle, and they feel very comfortable being able to talk to him one-on-one. So definitely seeing individuals who just want to work through things feel very comfortable going to him. All right. Upcoming dates. I think I had the Arlington Tech is December, sorry. Arlington Tech is going to be in December, the 5th through the 8th. That's right, Mr. Tuttle? Yeah. Grade prep day is coming up, so no school for students on the 7th. Early release We have Career Exploration Day, and you may have just recently gotten a notification. You will be getting a second notification from me coming here shortly, inviting you as parents, if you are interested in coming and sharing a little bit about your career or how you got there. We would love to have you. Our students would love to get to hear your voices in our classrooms. It's going to be like about 2 solid hours in 8th grade. The 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are all doing something different. And in 8th grade, the opportunity is great in that we will have adults coming into the building to share about their career choices. Maybe if you want to share how one career led to something else, would love to hear from those of you who have some writing, some technology. Pretty much anything would be great, just because kids have a diverse amount of interest. So please be on the lookout for that next notification. It will be somewhat of a Google Doc type survey to let me know if you are interested in participating. Would love to have your faces join us. Next semester, we'll be moving into course selections, end of year testing, and end of year activities. We will be going to King's Dominion at the end of the 8th grade year. There will be a PTSA sponsored end of year party, and there may be 1 or 2 outings sponsored by the 8th grade teams. Upcoming this fall is NaNoWriMo, which I look forward to seeing you guys. The ELA and 8th grade level put on an amazing NaNoWriMo presentation during the fall, and you don't want to miss it. You really don't. It is a treat. I got to participate last year. So please mark your calendar for that coming up here. All right. Contacts. Take a look here. I'm your admin. You can reach out to me by phone, by email, Bob as well, Mr. Tuttle. I think you guys all have all of this information. You can find us in all of these places. Screenshot it if need be.
It's a good call. I wanted to put a plug in for a couple of other events that are coming up. We are so excited to have been selected by the Million Bazillion Live, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Financial Literacy Parent Program, Parent and Kid Program on Monday the 30th. At 6:30 in the evening. Please, please, please join us. It's a kind of game show type experience, but they're really teaching kids and opening the door for families and kids to talk about financial literacy. So looking forward to that very much. And then the other thing, we had a question about the 8th grade field trip to Arlington Tech. That is an 8th grade field trip, so we will go by teams on that day. So don't worry about getting there earlier. But it's perfect timing, really, because it's around that time when you might do the Arlington Tech evening presentation to learn about it, and then have those conversations with your youngster. So definitely stay tuned. Don't forget, we do try to communicate. I try to do weekly with the Phoenix Flyer. Again, I apologize about the link being broken. And then the Phoenix Post is also just a great newsletter from our PTSA that offers also a community perspective, like things going on in the community. So join the Phoenix Post if you haven't already. Join the PTSA if you haven't already. What questions can we answer? I have put quite a few answers to questions in the chat, but if you've got a question, feel free to throw it in there. And guys, I'm going to say 8th grade rocks. 72 people here. That is the top, the best representation, as this could be expected.
Yeah, but 8th grade rocks for other reasons too.
8th grade is awesome. 8th grade promotion is a really big deal. We are very excited about it and honored to celebrate your 8th graders when they join us. It's usually that Wednesday of the last week of school. So very excited to celebrate with you their successes this year. Stay tuned. We'll provide some information as it comes out about what that looks like. Mary Beth is asking, when can they apply for Arlington Tech? So the options, I think the lottery application and the application to Arlington Tech open typically in December and run through the end of January for the high school programs. So stay tuned. We'll be sending out lots of information about that. I do think that don't they have to write something, Mr. Tuttle?
I think they do this year, yeah.
Yeah, so
they're changing it up some.
Yeah, begin to ask your youngster kind of like, what would you be interested? Why would you be interested in Arlington Tech? And make sure they read on the website what the program is about. So definitely stay tuned for that. What other questions could we answer for you? Great question.
I see someone asked a question about the Canvas pages and should you check them every day? I just think getting into the habit, I think every single teacher has a Canvas page and we are in our red and gold. So it's kind of block scheduling. So I don't think checking every single one every single day would be a starting goal. But essentially, you want to just make sure you are checking the ones for the classes that you're in, but you also might want to check for the classes that you're going into. It's kind of like right now we are in the habit as adults that we wake up in the morning and then of course, we go to our phones and we check what have I missed since the last time I needed to be in touch with someone. And so we want to just kind of get them into that habit. As we all know in this world, the messages start to go quickly. And so I think sometimes kids can become overwhelmed when they miss a day or two because those assignments will add up. And then when they look again, they are feeling a little bit overwhelmed at what they're seeing. Not that we can't help them get back on track, but that's why we want to check regularly.
I think it's also important to remember that kids don't have every class every day. They have all of their classes on Wednesday, but Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday we have block scheduling. So they have even on one and odd on the other, with the exception of fifth, which they have every day. But kids should know which classes that they need or which classes they need to check on which days, just based on their schedule. There was also a question about, I love these principles, and I'm guessing that was back in the RISE part of the presentation. And how do you practically work with them on these? Are there one-on-one opportunities? Yes, there are certainly one-on-one opportunities, but probably less than you would think. Both when we see kids doing good things and things that they probably shouldn't be doing, we do that. But then that's also honestly, that's part of life in the class, and it's also part of the SEL that they're doing sorry, my dog started yelping. The SEL that they do in Phoenix time.
And I will add to that and just share. I shared this with a parent, and then I was like, that sounded really good. I need to share this more often. I had a parent recently ask me, how do we need to, there was a situation, a student needed to reflect on something. And so they said, what do we need to do to back you up here at home? Which I greatly appreciate. And the answer that I gave is, focus on how we can encourage them to see themselves in a positive light, see themselves in a responsible light, asking those questions like what going into the SEL, what kind of engagement did you have today? When were you accountable today? Can you think of an opportunity that you had today to brighten someone else's day? I know that sounds super cheesy, super, like really positive at 7 p.m. at night, and we're all just trying to get dinner and get to bed. I understand that life, but just those opportunities, small tidbits of asking them when they did something good allows them to speak that into existence and hear that they're doing great things. Our kids are doing great things. There are moments when they backslide a little bit. That's normal. But saying out loud, what is the great thing that you did today, means, guess what? You just heard yourself say you did something great today. And I think that really is really positive for them.
There was also a comment about a lot of the clubs happening on certain days. We don't really, it's really hard to work around that, because honestly, the sponsors of those clubs, they do it on they sponsor the club on the day that works for them. And sometimes, other days don't work. So I don't really know that we have a lot to say on that, because we want them to sponsor the clubs.
Mr. Tuttle, can you talk a little bit about the process of applying to high schools outside of their home school? So, and then there's a follow-up question. Do kids need to write an explanation if they're transferring from one high school to another?
So it depends on, okay. So I guess we're talking about neighborhood transfers. So the process is to apply for a neighborhood transfer, and those will open up, I assume, in December. And it's based on available space at the school you want to go to. There are a couple of things to think about with that. In that, if you're transferring to a different school, transportation is not provided, so you have to be aware of that. But the kids don't need to write anything about why they want a neighborhood transfer. There is another for W and L, it's a little bit different. Kids simultaneously apply for if the home school is Yorktown and they want to go to W and L for the IB program. They do both, but kind of at the same time. They apply to the IB program and therefore are also asking for a neighborhood transfer. And it kind of, but first and foremost, they're applying to the IB program and they need to meet those minimum requirements. They have to be in algebra and they have to be in the second year of a language in the 8th grade, or actually more importantly, they have to be prepared for the third year of a language in the 9th grade. Did I answer that?
You did. I thought that was good.
Then also Arlington Tech is kind of the same way. Although Arlington Tech is not technically a different school, it's a program. They also have to apply to Arlington Tech. And that actually happens a little bit, or the dates on that are actually typically a little bit later.
There's a question.
And I have heard that they have to write something for it, but I haven't gotten any information from Tech about what that is.
So more to come on that. There's a question here. Is Arlington Tech still based on the lottery? How does the writing assignment factor into the selection? We don't know yet.
I don't know.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what they communicate that. And then another question is HB an option for 9th grade? It is. You can apply for the lottery at HB at every year, but 9th grade is a good year to do it.
But the lottery is much smaller. The lottery is the largest going into 6th grade, but they still do have a lottery.
They do. And a few kids will get in just about every year in the 9th grade.
And I think the reason for that is because I think any one of these schools can be the right fit for the right kid. So I think you have to think about the school and your kid, and if that is a good fit. And we do get kids who go to HB and they transfer back because it wasn't a good fit. And when they do transfer back, that opens up another slot. So
here's another good question. Can you apply for a neighborhood transfer to W&L without doing IB, or do you have to apply for IB to go to W&L?
No, for a neighborhood transfer, you can apply to go to any one of the schools.
That wasn't always true. Typically, Washington Liberty was only open for IB, but it sounds like it's opened up more.
And it may be. It's all based on the numbers. Like they opened up that new portion of the building so that they could expand the IB numbers, but it really depends on their numbers and how many kids they're accepting in the IB as to how many kids they would take for a neighborhood transfer. And we haven't gotten that information yet.
Yeah. Jean is asking, how and when do 8th graders get to explore and get a feel for the different option schools or programs? We really, Arlington only opens the doors of Arlington Tech for kids to come and explore at the 9th grade level. So they'll get an opportunity in December to go to visit Arlington Tech. I would totally recommend that you take your youngster to high school information night and have them walk through the building with you, go to a sporting event at the different schools if that's something that your youngster is interested in order to get a feel for what the different programs and schools actually feel like. But that is tough. I wish we did the 8th graders go to high school for a visit like they did coming into middle school, but we just don't.
So they do get a little bit of a feel for it because they don't get to go into the high school, but the high school comes to them to talk about, what those schools are like. But I hear your point, but that's not us.
But but your point is well made. The high school counselors come and they will break kids into their homeschool and have a conversation with them about what's it like, what can you do, what classes can you take, who's your counselor going to be, that kind of thing. So that is a good opportunity for kids. Information, I see another question. Dates for information nights for the high school have not been published yet. I know that they are coming. I see that the middle school information is on the APS website right now, but the high school information is not yet. So stay tuned. We can send a parent square.
I can add that they posted all of that stuff on November 7th last year. So it's pretty soon. I would imagine they'll do it around the same time.
Good. Information for transferring high schools, when will that be available? Coming. Does W&L prefer neighborhood transfers for their IB program over regular neighborhood transfers? I don't think there's any preference necessarily. It does depend on the numbers and if they're trying to build what they're trying to do, but they'll be transparent about that when you meet with them. And then no, Arlington Tech parents, your kiddo gets picked up by a bus. Bus transportation is provided to Arlington Tech. So these were all great questions. Definitely high school on the mind. We get it. That's why we're having this conversation tonight, to kind of give you a heads up and start the juices flowing. Even though we've just begun eighth grade, it's time to start thinking about it.
I'm already saying congratulations, because yes, they are already thinking about high school and you're almost there. And I think the kids can tell as well. They are excited to be in eighth grade, but it's in the forefront of their minds.
It is. In the interest of time, I'm going to just, I guess, close us up. I want to let these two go and enjoy their families and rest their heads. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it. And again, my apologies for the broken link. That is completely my fault, but I'm glad we were able to get 72 of you on. Thank you for coming. And don't hesitate to stay in touch with us. Thanks for the thanks, Mr. Ditchy. We appreciate it. And Mr. Tuttle.
Can you I just want to remind everybody that it was recorded. If you missed any part of it, I'm sure that might be a little upsetting if you got in here like halfway through and you're like, what did I miss? You can go back and watch it. And this is one of the reasons that we record this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We will post it on the website so that you can access it. Thank you all so much. We love your eighth graders. We would like to keep them for another year. So if you change your mind, have them come back.
We would keep them, but it's really like they're going to need to move on because they're going to be high school kids and they need to go experience the next thing. They need to be freed from middle school and go to the next level.
They're ready. They're ready for that independence. Yeah. All right. On that note,
you.
We will say thank you. Thank you.